Hey everyone, welcome to week 2, to our Tuesday section, 2A, week 2, part A. Today we're talking all about teacher productivity and managing teacher responsibilities with technology. Most of our course over the next 8 weeks will be focused on what you can do with students, things students can do, but we do spend a little bit of time focused on the teacher side as well. So this is one of those examples talking about how technology can make your life easier as a teacher. And the other example will talk about building your professional identity as a teacher as well. So those are the 2 times we'll be more teacher focused, and then the rest of the time will be more student focused. So for today, we're going to talk a little bit about what are some different teacher tasks and how you can use technology to support those tasks. We'll cover some different productivity tools, and then we'll end briefly by talking about resource evaluation and how do you determine if a technology tool is actually beneficial for use in the classroom, because that can be a really hard question. So that's the plan, and here we go. In general, we're going to break things down into 3 categories. So when you're using technology for common teacher tasks, there's things that teachers have to do before class, like planning their lessons, finding resources, things like that, creating activities. There's things teachers have to do during class, managing their class, facilitating learning, recording class events, things like that. And then there's things teachers have to do after class, which is usually grading, assessing, communicating with parents, providing feedback, keeping track of student records, and things like that. So when we're thinking about the things teachers have to do and how technology can support those things, we're going to break it down into those 3 categories: before class, during class, and after class. So before we jump in, I just want you to think back for a second and take a second to think about what are some technology tools your teachers use for planning lessons. You might not know. If you've had any experiences with cadet teaching, then you might have some more insights there. But think about that, and also think about the second one's probably a little more easy. What are some technology tools your teachers use to facilitate learning in class or to manage the class? And then what technology tools do your teacher use to assess your learning and to give you a grade or to give you feedback? So just spend a few seconds thinking back and refreshing your memory on those types of tools that your teachers might have used. And now that you've had a second to think about that, just be sort of comparing those ideas to what we talk about today as well. Hopefully you'll find some that we talk about today that you've used before also. So in the announcement, there's also this Google Doc link. You should open this and say File, make a copy, and copy this into your Google account. It's a great list of resources, and any ones that you find that you like, you should also be adding those to your Symbaloo. In general, any links that you're like, oh, this is great, this is helpful, always add that into your Symbaloo, and that'll be part of your e-portfolio at the end of this semester. So again, the link to this is in the announcement. Make sure you open that and copy it in. If you're having difficulty copying it in, make sure you're signed into your Google account already. All right, so let's start by talking about what teachers do before class. Planning lessons, finding resources, creating worksheets and activities. There are a lot of different tools you can look at. These are some of my personal favorites. We'll talk about free resources as well. These are more corporate sponsored and textbook publishers like Scholastic, for example. BrainPop is really great. I'm going to jump over and show it to you just in case you're not familiar. It is a paid subscription, but they always have free resources as well. And they have a series of short videos, but as you can see, so we're talking about, this is to support Reading to Kill a Mockingbird. And they have these 2 little characters that are throughout all their videos.
Hey, Moby. Ah! A creepy monster lives here?
So students would watch that. It would connect to Kill a Mockingbird, like maybe that's supposed to be like Boo Radley. And then they have all of these additional activities that students can do with the lesson. Quizzes, challenges, make a map, make a movie. Awesome activities and assessments that students can do that aren't just quizzes. Quizzes can be great, but they're also creating things to demonstrate their understanding as well. It's a really awesome resource. Additionally, these links are all in that Google document, so I'd recommend checking them out. Teachers Pay Teachers, you can create resources for your classroom and actually sell them to other teachers. Kathy Schrock's Guide to Everything is an awesome resource, same with Cool Cat Teacher. Definitely check those out. Elementary PBS Kids is great. For social studies folks, the Library of Congress and Smithsonian are awesome resources as well. Illuminations is great for math. Discovery Education is awesome for science. So check out some of those that are aligned with your subject area and make sure to add those to your Symbaloo as well. Readability tests are really, really helpful as well because you're going to have students at all different reading levels, regardless of the subject you're teaching, regardless of the age you're teaching. And it's not always practical to, rewrite things in different reading levels or different languages for ELL students. So one great tool, Rewordify, is awesome. You can paste in text and then rewordify it and it will simplify it. So that can be really helpful if you've got struggling readers in your classroom or English language learners. One of my favorite tools there. And a lot of the newer education technology tools will also provide reading at different levels, from like beginner, intermediate, advanced. And they'll also provide audio, so like narration, so students can listen to the words along with it. And tools like that to help struggling readers with content. So there's a lot of great resources now that are meant to make your life as a teacher easier when you're creating these types of lessons for your students. All right, so next let's move on to during class. Managing class, facilitating learning, maybe recording class events or documenting class events, things like that. Again, make sure to check out these links in the Google Doc. You've got a video this week on QR codes. If you've never used them before, they're enormously helpful in the classroom. If your students have cell phones, if they have iPads, pretty much regardless of the device they have, QR codes make it really easy for you to share links with your students. They scan the QR code, it pops up with the website. Rather than having to email it to students or have them type in a link, which is just absolutely terrible, trying to get 20 to 30 kids to type in the same link. QR codes are so helpful. Lots of really fun activities you can do with them. Another one of my favorites that we use during the school year is Nearpod. It's awesome for delivering lessons because you can embed all sorts of great content. You can embed quizzes, drawn responses, collaboration boards. You can take students on virtual field trips even. It's wonderful. Seesaw is great. One of your badges for this week is on exploring an LMS, a learning management system, and Seesaw is one of your options. If you have an iPad in your elementary, I definitely do that option. Otherwise, you'll want to check out Edmodo is the other option. But both of those are great. Kahoot, most folks, it looks like, are familiar with that. Definitely good for getting quick formative feedback from students. Class Dojo we'll look at here in a second also. And then Socrative and Plickers are both nice for getting feedback in class from students as well. Let's actually jump over and look at Class Dojo real fast. If you've never used this, one of my all-time favorite apps. It's completely free. It's wonderful for keeping track of student behavior in the classroom. So this is when I taught elementary, middle school, and high school computer science in Columbia. These are my students there. And what you can do is tap on a student and quickly assign them a point for being on task, participating, sharing, whatever. Or if there's something that they need work on, you can assign that too. In general, I recommend keeping this private, not like sharing it up on your screen, because that can cause students to definitely feel ashamed if their score is lower than others. And I think that can be a really negative pedagogical strategy. But it can be really helpful for keeping track of behavior and then having weekly or bi-weekly meetings with students just to say, hey, here's where you're doing, here's what you're struggling on, here's what you're really successful with. You can generate reports to send to parents. It even has a news feed now where you can share out photos securely just with students and parents, so it's not public on the web, but it's just for the folks involved in your classroom. You can send messages. Really, really powerful and wonderful application that's completely free to use, and I would highly recommend checking it out. All right, so next, there's ClassDojo. Some other ones that are great in the classroom: Google Docs, wonderful. Same with Google Slides. Like anything where students can work collaboratively in class is awesome. Evernote and OneNote are both similar, but what I would say Google Docs is probably the most common in the classroom. Here's ClassDojo. We kind of already talked about that. Jeopardy Rocks. This was your badge that you completed last week, but another really helpful productivity tool. Makes it so much easier to create these Jeopardy type review games. You don't have to do it in PowerPoint. You can just do it here. Makes it great for reviewing. It's a lot of fun. Helps facilitate learning. Awesome tool. Finally, let's talk a little bit about after class. How do teachers grade, assess, record, communicate, provide feedback, keep track of students' records, communicate with parents. And one of my favorites is remind.com. You can send, it's a free service also, you can send out text messages to students and parents, but you don't have to actually give out your phone number. You can also send out mass texts, you can send out polls, surveys, things like that. It's awesome. And like I mentioned, ClassDojo is really great for communication as well. Wherever you end up, you'll likely have an LMS, learning management system. We use Canvas at IU. It's pretty common in the state of Indiana. A lot of schools also use Edmodo and Schoology. One of your badges, again, is looking at an LMS. So Edmodo is one option to check out for that assignment, but Seesaw is great if you do have an iPad and you're an elementary focused person. But LMSs have become instrumental in every K-12 classroom these days. It's a really handy place to put all of your resources together, to share resources with students, to keep track of grades, a place where parents can check in on grades. It's essentially a digital hub for your classroom. And it can be really helpful when you supplement that with a teacher website as well. And so in your class prep, you'll be looking at some examples of teacher websites and why you might use a teacher website in your classroom. Really handy way for parents to have a friendly place to check in, and then you could link to your LMS if you want to. You could link to your lesson plans for the week. You can have videos of your classroom, things like that. And you can also create newsletters to send out, which will be your other badge for this week. You'll be creating a newsletter on a site called S'more. That's always one of folks' favorites here in W200, so I think you'll enjoy that resource. But that's just a little bit about what's coming up, but it all sort of connects to this slide as well. Front row is also pretty common in Indiana. Google Forms with automatically grading quizzes can be helpful. Creating rubrics on sites like iRubric can be great as well. And we'll get into that type of assessment a little more later on also. And then like we talked about, wherever you end up, you'll probably end up with a learning management system. If you're in Indiana, it'll most likely be Canvas or Google Classroom. Those are the two most common ones. But it might be something like Edmodo or Schoology or Seesaw as well. So the last big question, and we'll come back to this question a lot, how do you know if these resources are beneficial? You found a tool that you think looks good, but how do you know if it actually will be helpful in the classroom? We like to use this 4E's framework. It's a helpful, fast way to check out and evaluate technology. So the 4E's: effectiveness, efficiency, enhancement, engagement. Effective: does the tool help the students reach the learning standard, the objectives, the goals of the lesson? Is it helping them get to where they need to get? Efficiency: does the tool help teachers or students save time, save energy, save money? That one's usually pretty self-explanatory. Enhancement. Are the students able to explore a topic in a way that would be impossible without the tool? Think of like a virtual reality field trip, having guest speakers from another country come into the classroom through Skype. Things like this that wouldn't be possible without technology. And then engagement. Are the students more engaged or motivated to learn because of this tool? Maddie had a really great post on Flipgrid talking about the engagement factors related to technology and how technology can help encourage engagement. And that's absolutely true. So are you finding a tool that can help students get excited about the learning and help them become more motivated to learn because of that tool? So anytime we're evaluating things, we'll use this 4E checklist. If you go to any web browser and type bit.ly/4E checklist, you can find that there. You don't need it for this week, but just know that it's there and that we'll be coming back to it later in the week. So that's all for this video. Make sure to follow the announcement, complete the class prep 2A, complete the badges for this week. Make sure to tweet out that answer to the QR question, watch the QR code video, and then also participate in that Flipgrid discussion. So let me know if you have questions on anything at all. Otherwise, I hope this was helpful in giving you some ideas for how technology can help you as a teacher do your job more efficiently, more effectively, and so you're not always having to create and do so much, but technology can actually help take some of that burden for you. That's it for this week. Let me know if you have any questions.